This right here is what happens when your confidence is so high that no one can stop you.
Edwards, top three, cash!
Plays like that show you why Anthony Edwards doesn't pass the ball. And when he's knocking down shots like this with the shot clock winding down, you truly start to see just how unguardable he is.
Doubled, fires, and cans a three. Come on. Wow, what a shot.
Over the last 6 games, Anthony Edwards has been on a mission, as he's put up 32 points a night on 50% shooting from the field and 40% from deep range. Every time down the floor, he poses a new threat in how he scores the ball, such as when he comes off these handoffs, there's a couple options. With Gobert cleaning the play for Ant, he can now operate freely in space. So this gives him the ability to either attack the basket with a full head of steam due to the big playing deep drop coverage, or as we stated earlier, Ant is a sniper from deep. So this is where he can make the defense pay for leaving him open. This handoff is an action the Wolves can go to a lot when Edwards is the one initiating it, because even if the big is to come to the level of the screen, this gap between Jokic and Ant is still too much space. And you already know this is straight cash. Now, as much as the tray ball is a threat off these handoffs, the key is to keep the defense on their toes. So when he throws it to Rudy here, Chris Dunn already read the scouting report and knows that Ant wants to run off towards Rudy to get the ball back. So you're going to see him try to jam Edwards up so he can initiate the play. This is where Ant uses this against him by cutting into this empty space, which is set up for the perfect angle to attack, and here comes the slam.
Oh, he's a Skywalker!
Yeah, you have to be careful when trying to deny the action. So in other situations, defenses will do a good job at navigating around the screen to not get hit, but with Brown now trailing the play, this is the least of Ant's worries. In plays like this, it's all about who the secondary defender is. And as a guard, it's usually going to be a big man since you're coming off a screen from your big. And let's be honest, people keep trying to hype up Jokic and his defense like it's something special. But when you're an athletic player who has a burst to your game, this is when you can pursue the rim with aggression, take that slight bump, and get this off the glass with no problem. Like seriously, anytime you involve Jokic in these actions, it's pretty much a piece of cake. Furthermore, when it's more so Ant having to create with the dribble off these screens, this is when things become difficult, as what looks like a crowded space to work in for most is actually an engaging puzzle for Edwards. And he takes on the challenge by using the hezzy to make Cam Johnson lift up for a moment, starts attacking at Jokic before changing directions with that low carry, and with that strength, he's able to rip right through to get into the paint and finish with ease. Now that hezzy that sets up the attack is only effective because if you're not there when Ant comes off, well, you already know it's pure butter. So with that ability to let it fly in his back pocket, he can now bait defenders into jumping when looking at the rim while serving that hezzy, and although we can see 4 red jerseys around him, it's that footwork that slices through the defense for the left hand finish. Other times when he uses that hezzy, it'll work even greater in his favor due to the floor being more spaced out, and since Ant can attack with a head of steam, the blow by is far easier and the bucket is more crafty. It gets to a point where defenders decide to crowd his space to make things a little more tougher for him, but these screens are what opens the floodgate. And with Brook Lopez being scared to be beat off the dribble, he starts to take some steps back, and soon enough, you're watching the ball clap through the net with some precision. Every time a defender either goes under or backs up when Ant comes off the screen is a recipe for disaster, as the initial man will do his job by trying hard to get over the screen, which would usually force a ball handler into attacking right into the big man, but when you're dealing with an elite shooter, you have to be at the level of the screen to possibly take the shot away, and if you're not, well, it's gonna drop. All of this comes from the fear of him beating you to the basket off the dribble, but let me ask you something, what's more scarier than letting him get easy buckets off screens? Well, if you ask me, it's when he starts to get deeper into his bag of tricks, whether it's in isolation or if he does decide to use a screen before creating. For example, when you think you have him where you want him, Ant will use that smooth handle to sauce you up before stepping back to fire it from 31 feet.
You gotta be kidding me!
And then when he wants to show you different tricks, he'll first use the up fake to get Jones on that trampoline, serve the choppy steps to keep Lopez guessing for a split second, and then instead of using that right hand to make a tough conversion, Ant slips this in past Brooks with the inside hand off the glass. This bag of Ant-Man starts to get deep, and he's someone who truly makes it look easy when it's not. Because when you're changing directions not only once, but twice when it looks like the double will be waiting on you, it's not easy to be moving at full speed to rip through and hold focus for a high placement bank shot for that and one. And then if he's not banking it in with a float, Edwards can put his back to the basket before spinning off hard, and then catch the defender off guard with a step back for pure money. Having a player like Edwards always gives your team a chance to win, and if you were trading on Polymarket when the Wolves beat Memphis, you would have won big. With Memphis coming out shooting 57% in the first quarter opposed to the Wolves' 39%, this granted them the 32-21 lead over Minnesota, so I instantly traded in as the odds dropped to just 46% for the Wolves to win. With Minnesota coming out with momentum in the second half, shooting 46% while holding the Grizzlies to just 40%, they got out to a huge 103-91 lead, and I instantly cashed out at 97% odds for 110% profit. If you want to trade in all 50 states like I do, make sure you download the app in my description to get to the top of the waitlist. Now when diving back into the creativity of Edwards, it's all reliant on how much of a threat he is in other areas. Like with his driving being a main factor defenses have to worry about, they bite extremely hard on these half spins, allowing Ant to rise up with comfort, and if he's to keep it more simple, a hard dribble selling the attack is all he needs before stepping back to nail the bucket from deep. This type of leverage right here is something all players need if they want to be great, because it doesn't matter where he catches the ball, as if he catches on the outside and isn't worried about a hard closeout, because he can attack right past, and even if there is multiple defenders around him when he attacks, he can either step right around them to go finish at the front of the rim, or if he wants to get a little crafty, he can pull out the hook over the top to still finish the play. Things like this is what frustrates defenses and sends them into a frenzy. Because even when you play solid defense and cut off his attack angle, you would assume that you have him stopped. But nope, this is where the bump into the turnaround fade gets activated, and trust me, it doesn't matter who's on him, as when it's a solid defender who's pressed right up on him, Ant has no worries in the world and will still get to a spot to fade over the top for pure butter. Time and time again, defenses get cooked with all the ways Edwards can score the rock, and it's not like Ant is sped up or taking shots he doesn't want to. He always knows where he wants to go, and whether he keeps it simple or if he has to use a couple moves to get there, he'll make sure to find a way. Say there's only 5 seconds left on the clock and Edwards is in the backcourt, well, that's no problem, as Ant will push it past every Denver defender to get inside to still score. Other times, he can be going against a set defense, so he'll slow it down before exploding out the handle to get downhill, and then place this high in the air so the help defender can't get to it. And it doesn't matter if you're right in front of the grill at the barbecue to stop him from getting some food, whenever Edwards is in that zone, it's time to get a plate and go home.
Fires. Cash.
As the back half of the season is underway, it's time for guys to really get into a flow to be ready for the playoffs, and Ant is showcasing his skill at an elite level. How do you all feel about Anthony Edwards and this Wolves team right now? Let me know in the comments and let's talk about it. As always, if you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like, subscribe, and turn on post notifications so you're first to know when I upload.